Hey everyone, so this is going to be our ACT video. We have decided to focus on being in the present moment and Eve kind of identifying what some of her values are. We wanted to preface this by saying we decided to go with the time frame of after she finds out that she's HIV positive. And we wanted to recognize that in the contractual relationship between Eve and the therapist in this situation, there needs to be a conversation about, not just working on some of the harder stuff, but being able to delve into that, find reasons, find pros and cons. So we wanted to come at this from a sensitive point of view, but also from the point of view that the therapist is trying to support Eve after finding out her diagnosis and kind of give context to some of the other stuff that's going on in her life. So here we go. Hi, Eve. I'm glad that you were able to meet with me this week. How was your week?
It was okay. I just kind of struggled with some things, going through goals and just reaching out to people. And I feel like I'm just kind of going back in the present and finding comfort in that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a challenge for me.
Okay. So I'm hearing you say that you've been wrestling with some of that past stuff. Can you give me a little bit more about what it is from your past specifically that you've been focusing on or kind of ruminating on?
I think just the relationships that I had that are now broken. I had a relationship with my family that got torn apart again. My marriage ended. It's not really what I wanted, but unfortunately it happened. So I've just been struggling with, do I want to go back and get myself into those things that I know I shouldn't, but I want to, or just move forward and focus on mending other relationships with family.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about just remind me a little bit about what some of your goals in therapy are and kind of what the central point is, what it is that you want to work on and focus on and what your goals are moving forward from the point that you're at right now. And I just want to validate you being honest and saying, hey, I'm struggling this week, but maybe we can look at some of that. What are your goals for the future for moving from this point on?
Yeah, I definitely want to continue working on my sobriety. I think thinking about my past, that's something that I found comfort in to kind of take me away from all the pain. So just trying to do my best at maintaining that. Also just holding my job, because I do find comfort in that as well. And it keeps me busy during the week and distracted. But also just mending the relationships I have with my family. I know I kind of chose to do things that would separate that again. So I really want to rebuild that, because that's something I find a lot of my past comfort in before I met my husband.
So thank you for sharing that with me. And I've heard you talk about a couple big, goals that you have. So one of them definitely is maintaining your sobriety. And one of the things that we had talked about last session was how the NA and the AA meetings that helped you in the past. Did you have a chance to attend either or of those meetings this week?
I didn't. And I think I just let myself get really depressed and upset, and I thought it would be easier just to not go. So I didn't.
Okay. So put me in that moment of when you decided not to go. What were some of the thoughts that you were having?
I just felt like I didn't need to be there. I didn't deserve to be there. I kind of brought these situations onto myself because of what I got myself involved in. I just had that moment where, because I didn't think I belonged there, I just chose not to go.
Okay. So when we think about in terms of your goals and sobriety, in the past we had talked about AA and NA being a helpful support for you. Have you thought more about that level of support and maybe some of the relationships that you've met there that have helped you towards your goal?
Yeah, and I've made really strong relationships there. We're all kind of struggling with the same thing, so they understand where I'm coming from. I think I get scared of those relationships and again think that I don't deserve them, and then into this pit that's really hard to get out of.
Okay. So I hear you talking a little bit about being scared, but also appreciating some of those things that those people bring to you when you're there.
Yeah.
So would you be willing this next week to try either one AA or NA meeting and maybe come back to me with how you feel about that support system and if that's working towards you, helping you make sobriety an important goal?
Yeah. I think I just need the push to kind of get there and do it, but
Mhm.
I know that I need it. I think
Mhm.
if I just get in those little ruts, then I let it consume me. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll
So I'm
definitely,
kind of hearing that you value your time there and the people there and kind of that whole experience and how that's kind of helped you towards your goal.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you also mentioned some relationship stuff with your family. In the last session, we had talked about you maybe reaching out to your mom and, doing coffee or just talking to her. Were you able to work on any of that this week?
I actually did reach out to her. Um,
Wow. Awesome.
I didn't want to, but I knew that it was something I had to do. So I called her and we had set up a time to get coffee. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it fell through on her end. Something came up, but I think making that initial call and knowing that I can do it kind of helped me to know that I can do it again. So I'm more
Yeah.
willing than I was before now.
That's awesome. And I just want to, validate that for you, give you a huge kudos on that, that first step of reaching out. And I know that can be kind of hard, especially when plans fall through. But those phone calls, I think, are an important step in your goal of, wanting to maintain that family contact. So, once again, put me in your shoes. What do you think it would look like to reach back out to your mom this week and just say, hey, mom, I know last week didn't work out, but can we plan coffee again? What do
I
you think that experience would look like for you?
I think it would show her more that I'm trying more
Mm-hmm.
just to, before I would try but then never follow through on anything.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be as nerve-wracking on my part, I think, because I've already done it, but that's just the phone call. I'm not sure how it would be once I was actually there with her.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say, how it would go, but I think it's something that I need, especially
Uh-huh.
to kind of heal what some of the problems that stem from my past.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing you say is that that's kind of evolved into a goal for you, that healthy kind of family relationship, and that's something that we can maybe delve more into. When you think about that goal, can you think of any relationships in your life right now that might be working against having healthy relationships?
Yeah, my ex, I've I just continue to feel drawn back to him, and it's because we spent so much time together, um, and just the things that we've been through. He was there through everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's also in for a lot of things, but there's not necessarily comfort, but just this there's just this safety net kind of thing with him.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about that relationship and some of the things that you shared to me about wanting healthy relationships and wanting sobriety and, things to go well for you when you're working, how do you think your relationship with him plays into working towards those goals?
Inside, I know that it's probably not good,
Mm-hmm.
but in the present moment, I kind of push that knowledge aside, and I'm like, well, I want this now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the battle that I've been dealing with
Okay.
is I want the comfort in the present, but I know long term it's probably not helpful.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that situation? What are the negatives of, having that contact with him? How do you think that could impact you with some of the goals that you shared?
I think it would just re-traumatize me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I because I have HIV and I know how I got that.
Mm-hmm.
I think just constantly reliving that and being with the person who did that to me
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be healthy for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it would just trigger me to get back into the substance abuse, which
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to fight.
Yeah, and I just want to validate for you, right now, in the present moment, you are sober and you haven't made that contact. You've thought about it, but you've kind of been able to weigh those pros and cons for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you think about, or have you thought about anything that could maybe even further the goal of those healthy relationships? I know you plan to reach out to your mom. Do you have any type of contingency plan for your ex? Were you thinking about reaching out to him? Kind of what are some of those thoughts, and kind of where are you at with wrestling with that?
I think I know I want to, but everything in me is fighting to not do it because of the issues that I know will come. And I don't want to ruin what relationships I could have with my family moving forward, which I think would dampen that.
So I'm hearing you say you are invested in these goals and you want to work towards them. So what do you think, given everything that we've talked about today, what do you think, is there one thing that you feel like you could be doing more of right now to move towards those goals? You've said a little bit more about continuing that contact with the family, resisting not reaching out to your ex, continuing to, do well when you're working. Is there one area this week that maybe you'd like to focus on a little bit more on the positive list of things that are going well right now?
Yeah, I think just moving forward with family is something that is what I want to prioritize. And I think the healthier those relationships get, the more I won't crave to go back into the things that were part of my past and the things that brought me into the pit that I was in.
Yeah. So focusing on those positives, thank you for sharing that with me. So what do you think would be a good plan for us to kind of touch base on when we meet again next week? I know you've said a little bit about maybe reaching out to your mom again and just continuing with your work schedule.
Yeah, I think I just want to try to maintain those. I definitely reach out to my mom again this week. I'll go to an NA meeting. And I think something that I need to try to do is to not think about my ex and just go a week with keeping myself busy and not really focusing on that relationship that was.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we have a positive thing going, and I look forward to meeting with you next week.
Thank you.